Hi, and welcome back. Okay, so last week we talked about, or last time, we talked about Jacob becomes Israel. His father is Isaac, whose father is Abraham. So this is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So let's go ahead and talk about Israel's 12 sons. He has 12 sons by 4 different women: Leah and her handmaid, Rachel and her handmaid. So now we're going to talk about his favorite son. Let's go ahead and start reading in chapter 37, verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So the problem gets worse. Let's read on. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So he dreams another dream. Let's read on. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed yet a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the stars, the 11 stars, made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and your mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. Okay, so Joseph dreamed these dreams that were obviously given by God, because it plays out that it comes true. And Israel took note of it. The brothers envied him. So let's see what happens after that, because Dad sends Joseph to go check on brothers. So let's continue reading. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. And come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say some evil beast has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands and deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into the pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. They brought Joseph into Egypt. So now Joseph is gone, and the brothers have to face father. So let's read on. And Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes, or tore them. And he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes, or tore his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all the sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down to the grave unto my son mourning. Thus he wept for him. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. So we see here that they obviously made a big mistake. And I don't think they realized that they had put their father in such deep sorrow. So let's leave father and let's go to find out what happens to Joseph. We're going to go ahead and read in chapter 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hands. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and knew not aught what he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, or doesn't know what's in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie with her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. Okay, so notice Joseph goes to Potiphar's house. Potiphar sees that he's everything he does gets blessed. So he puts him over everything in his house, and he does a good job. Except when it comes to, he did a good job the whole time. But Potiphar's wife started scheming, and he refused to do evil. Potiphar will put his trust in Joseph's hand. But what happens is he gets lied upon, which means she lies about him. She says to her husband, you see this garment? It's the slave that tried to come in unto me. She twists the story. She changes the narrative. And she makes it look like Joseph came into her. And she screamed and he took off. We know this is not true. We know this didn't happen. So Joseph gets thrown in prison in chapter 40. It's pretty sad. I don't know about you, but I can tell you this. About this time, I'd be wondering, God, are you got taken away from my family, got taken away from my dad, got put in Pharaoh's house, Potiphar's house, and now I'm in prison. But that's not Joseph. He rises to the top in prison. They put him over the prison house. So he's in this position when two prisoners come to prison, the baker and the butler. They have dreams that Joseph interprets exactly the way they come to pass. It's perfect. So the butler gets restored to his position and the baker gets his head chopped off, just like their dreams. And Joseph says to the butler, when you get restored to your position, tell Pharaoh about me because I'm here wrongfully. So the butler says, okay, well, he forgets about Joseph for 2 years. All of a sudden, we have a story that starts in chapter 41, where Pharaoh dreams a dream. So the butler forgets about Joseph, but let's read in chapter 41. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. Okay, so this happens with cows. That's what that's talking about, fat-fleshed and lean-fleshed. 7 cows, fat, come out, and then 7 skinny ones come out and swallow or eat up the fat ones and stay skinny. So Pharaoh awoke. He dreamed yet another dream, and that was the 7 ears of corn. Same thing, nice and fat, and the skinny ones swallowed them up. So now we're going to go ahead and read what happens, that finally the butler 2 years later remembers Joseph. Okay? So let's go ahead and read 41, verses 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his garment and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. So I love this part. This is beautiful. Joseph doesn't come in there and say, yeah, man, I'm the man for the job. He comes in there knowing who his source is. He knows who is the great one, the mighty one, the one that can do anything, and that's God, the one who has given him the gift to interpret dreams. And he tells Pharaoh, God will give you. I want you to see how powerful this ends up being. Let's go ahead and read some more. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the kingdom of Egypt. So basically, after after Joseph interprets the dream for Pharaoh, he not only tells him that there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine, that God is telling Pharaoh this. He then tells him the plan that he should use in order to make this work. So in this scenario, Joseph interpreted the dream and had the answer. So Pharaoh lifts him to second in command. He goes from prison to second in command in one day. So not only that, but Pharaoh acknowledged his God as God. So that nation knew who the one true God was. That is very powerful. When you are in your place and you give God the glory that he deserves, he will draw all men to him. So let's continue next week and find out what happens after this. Thank you. Have a great day.